Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? This is Amanda. I do hope that you're well. So today is the 23rd of August 2023 and we are entering Virgo season. And I felt very called to do a video in honour of that. I think the Leos get centre stage for a good month. We hear a lot about Lionsgate, and I think the gentler energies of Virgo are very undervalued and underestimated in our world. So I wanted to honour Virgo season coming in, that quiet strength that they bring to our world. And I feel as though we are going to be needing that energy of quiet strength in the days and months to come. So I'd like to talk a little bit about that. It follows on from my last video on updated world predictions. I'm not going to go back into that because you may or may not have watched it. But one of the things that was coming forward in that as a potential timeline, only a potential timeline, we can change timelines if enough of us get together to try to do that. But we do know that we're entering another phase, is what it feels like in our world, where we are going to be tested. Our resolve is going to be tested. Our mental resolve, our spiritual resolve, and our physical resolve. And I think there's something to be learnt, as I say, from the quiet strength and determination, as well as the ability that Virgos have to cross every T and dot every I to make sure that we approach this next phase not from a place of fear, but thoroughly from our heart, from a centered place, and from the other thing that Virgo brings, which is groundedness. So I'm going to pull some cards. I'm going to see what we get. But I would like to talk about one thing in particular at the start, which is old Earth leaders as opposed to new Earth leaders. And I'm talking here at a general level about people in our communities, maybe in our family. You might be the leader in your family, but also at a collective level, our political leaders, our social leaders that we have on this earth at this time. Because of what I said in a video yesterday on Instagram and Facebook, where I was critical, for example, of Joe Biden's response to the Maui fires. I'm not going to go back into it. I didn't go on a rant anyway. I actually didn't say very much at all because I found it, I don't have words really to convey the energy I feel with regards to that response. But a few people, only a few, came at me and said, very disappointed in you, wouldn't expect you to say something like that. And this is what I would like to say in response to that. What is coming to me is a question for all of us. Why are we defending what I regard as leaders of old Earth? And they exist across party lines. They exist left and right in all countries of Earth. Taking it away from USA now, if there was to be a general election here in my country, I would struggle to know who to vote for. I wouldn't be enthusiastic for either of the main contenders. It's as though I, like many of you, I'm sure, feel done. I just feel done with the old template, the old politics. And as such, the leaders that represent old politics, the old template, don't inspire me. I'm sure they don't inspire many of you either. What I'm wanting to say, though, is the more that we defend the old leaders, as I say, of both parties. Old here, I'm talking not necessarily in age. I'm talking about a dated template, a dated consciousness, a dated response to the problems that we have in our world, whether they be environmental, whether they be linked into war, whether they be linked into the approach in terms of how we heal our cities, how we bring people together. Going back to America, but as I say, this is not just an American problem. It is pretty much in most countries around the world. But maybe 6 months ago, 8 months ago, I did a video where it was called The Diseased Bird. The Diseased Bird. And it's the reminder that the whole bird is diseased. The bird is made up of the left wing and the right wing, but the whole bird is diseased. So why are we trying to keep it in the air? I really would like you to think about that the next time that you're triggered by something that anybody says, whether it's me, whether it's Mrs. Jones down the street, whether it's your neighbour, whether it's your colleague, whether it's somebody that says something online with regards to one of these old earth leaders. And we have to ask ourselves why we are so invested in them still. I suspect what is going on is at collective level, there is a big comfort zone. As much as we dislike it, there is a comfort zone with regards to what we know. That I might not like this template, I might not necessarily want to vote for this person, but it's what I know, it's the system that I know, and so I'm just going to have to make the most of it, grin and bear it. Many of you I know in many countries, when you have been faced with the ballot box recently, have literally had to, bite your, I can't remember what the expression is, but you just had to go for it and it's left a bad taste in the mouth. John Lennon's energy, who I channel, came to me this morning. And do you remember the days of bed peace, where John and Yoko laid in bed for however many weeks that was, to try to protest about the insanity of war and that there had to be another way? Of course, the powers that were took John down for the threat that he posed to the establishment, because what he was showing is that there is another way to bring evolutionary change to our outdated systems, to our governments, to our leaders. He was able to amass a huge following in a very short period of time. And he's just one, of course. But what John said to me this morning was that with the example of voting, we have to remember, of course, that people have died and people still are dying around the world to be able to vote. As a woman myself, I owe a huge debt to the suffragettes in my own country that laid down their life, ended up in jail, were ostracised for bringing about the change so that women could have the vote. We know that many minority groups around the world are still persecuted, and in some places and some countries there is not a free vote. I'm being drawn to China in particular when I say that, but there are other examples, of course, around our world. So if we look at an axis in terms of voting or not voting, it feels as though to not vote is the worst thing that we can do. But I think there's a middle way to this, because I do think it's important to vote. And what John was saying to me this morning, I'd just like you to imagine this for one moment, without writing it off as being completely and utterly something that would never happen in a million years. Because if we could just birth this seed today, it could grow into something really quite incredible. There's two ways of doing it, he's saying. Number one, he's saying, imagine an election where there was a very high turnout, but 80% of the people or more spoiled their ballot. 80% of the people or more voted not for either of the main parties. Can you just imagine somebody being elected to a position of power that has, I don't know, even less than 20% of the vote? Imagine somebody getting in and giving their inauguration speech and 5% of the people had voted for them because everybody else had spoiled their ballots. Do you think that would bring about change? It would do, because it would bring about a quantum ripple that would demand it. We have to fight the system in a different way. So as I say, this is more just seeds that are being planted by John here. And of course, all countries are different. And in countries like my own, we are blessed, I suppose, with having other parties to vote for other than just the main three. But I'd just like you to think about that. There are different ways of achieving the objective we seek to get to New Earth, where we have New Earth leaders. Say your favourite candidate doesn't get on the ticket. Imagine if all of the people that wanted to vote for that person named him on the ballot. Even if, I know, powers would say it was invalid, it didn't mean anything, it would mean something energetically. And everything starts from energy. Everything starts from energy and action. It's like an underground movement, effectively, that is being proposed. And it's the opposite of anarchy and violence on the street, which won't achieve anything. It never has. So what John is saying is the energy of non-compliance. Non-compliance. What can they do if enough are non-compliant? Not just with regard to the fact that there is nobody on the ballot that I wish to vote for. There is nobody that represents the ideals that I believe in and that I want this earth to be for my children and my grandchildren. Because what John is saying here is that when we just keep going and doing what the system requires of us, so say you only have two candidates, you like neither of them, but you're choosing one. As far as the system goes, it is just giving consent for it to continue. You're voting into a system that you don't want to be there. But the more that you do that, and the more positive action you make to, put into it, you're putting energy into it, the more it will stay. So I thought that was interesting, and I thought that was worth sharing with you. But I come back to this thing about why are we defending leaders of old Earth? Why? Why are we so invested? And I'd really like you to think about that. And more than that, I'd like us to be thinking about what are the qualities that we would like to see in a leader. What are the things that we would like this leader to stand for? And we actually need to smash our way out of the box of limitations of what we think we could ask for. Yeah? So that's the first message that came through today. I also feel, going back to this energy of quiet strength, the Virgo quiet strength, come back to that. There's another thing I wanted to mention here, and I'm going to mention somebody's name. And I know as soon as I mention this person's name that in America in particular, this person has already become a divisive figure politically. I believe people are trying to bring him down as some right-wing nut. I listened to this man's piece of music, as many of you will. I didn't even think about right or left wing. It honestly didn't cross my mind. I just thought, wow, this is like a John Lennon figure. This is a protest song for this generation. But yet, people are trying to bring him down because he's always just right wing. What he's singing about are pretty basic values. The fact that we wish to be paid a decent wage. We don't want to basically be taxed to the hilt necessarily. Or as, and again, this is another name that for some people is controversial, not for me, but there's a very good interview with Russell Brand. Not an interview, it's one of Russell Brand's pieces that he's put out overnight, where he's talking about, I need to watch my language a little bit here, just because I have to be careful on YouTube. He's talking about an interview RFK Jr. has given with regards to bioweapon activity in Ukraine, and RFK coming out and basically saying, yeah, this has been going on for a long time and blah, blah, blah. You can watch it. I'll link it below. And number one, it was refreshing to hear a politician actually admit that and be open with people about the activities that are going on. But more than anything, what I thought was interesting with Russell was the fact that he was saying, we pay our taxes. I mean, I pay my taxes. I don't begrudge taxes. But I suppose in the back of my mind, there's always this hope that the taxes are going towards, I don't know, new hospitals, homeless people, new roads. By roads, I'm talking about repairing roads we've already got, public transport, etc. Things that are at a communal level are needed in our society. It's never really crossed my mind that actually those hard-earned taxes which I'm giving away are actually going towards weaponry and war and worse potential. Just watch the video. I'm not going to get into it any further than that, okay? So I've deviated a little bit, but ultimately this song, the song I'm talking about, of course, is Rich Men North of Richmond by Oliver Anthony. Came up on my YouTube feed, as it probably came up on many of your YouTube feeds recently. I think last night it had 32 million views in 13 days. It has captured a moment. It's captured how people, many people, not just in America but around the world, are feeling. And he sings it in a way. In fact, I was very pleased to see a picture of him recently just talking about the success of it. We'll come to that in a moment. And he looked more of a normal colour because he's like bright red in this video, but it's like I was thinking, oh gosh, I hope your blood pressure's okay. But it's passion. It's just he's passionately singing this song. It's from his heart, it's from his soul, it's from his gut. It's a protest song, absolutely, for our age. The interesting thing about him as well is that it's gone viral. It's also topped the Billboard chart, I believe, in America. He's turned down £8 million in terms of a record deal. He's just said, I don't want it. But the other very interesting thing about him, think about evolution and change coming up from a grassroots level. He's turned his back on the music industry, but he's basically self-published this. It's, his success has come via people like you and me just seeing it on YouTube. There's a power in that. There's a power in taking away the corrupt power. There are, of course, good people within the music industry. There's also some very corrupt people within the music industry. And it's like their power's being taken away. This guy's just risen pretty much from nowhere. And he is a voice for many. He's a powerful voice for many. just think it's really interesting. I think we're in the era of the battle cry. And I did a video, no, I didn't do a video, I did a post on the battle cry not on YouTube, on Facebook and Instagram on Sunday night, and it resonated with many of you. For those of you that are on YouTube that didn't see it, effectively what it was saying was, let me get it up, it was only a short little piece that I wrote. It was following on from my world predictions video, where quite a few people had come in and just sort of said, oh no, we can't cope with any potential future lockdown, or, I mean, let's be honest, none of us want it. None of us want any of this. But this is what I wrote. So, battle cry. I put, if I have to read one more poor me, I won't be able to cope comment on my world predictions video, I am frankly going to scream. I don't want to hear it. My work for years has been about empowerment, not shrinking at the sign of a next battle. And yes, I know there have been and still are many. Victimhood never won a war. What happened to standing up and fighting? Do you think I am not weary too? But I tell you this, we didn't come here to sit down, roll over, storm off in a huff if we hear something we don't like, give up, or worse, create a pity party. We came here to win. Do you really want your words, which have power, to remain forevermore for everybody to read of how you can't cope? You create that. Words and thoughts manifest. We will cope, you will cope, and together we can cope. So build up the energy rather than bringing it down. We also can change any timeline or energy by standing firm, keeping our vibration high and having our eyes on the prize, which is new earth. I understand why many teachers won't go there and will only tell people what they want to hear. Hell, it's a damn sight easier, I'm sure. And there are channels devoted to pandering to what some people want to hear. But it's a sticking plaster energy that won't prepare you for all eventualities or help grow any backbone. Human beings evolve and become strong by being able to adapt. So please, after compassion is shown for people's fear, if others are still pulling the weakened victim energy card, realise how toxic it is to stay in it. We all have moments, of course, but let's be a little bit more Kali rather than frightened mice. Okay, so that went down well. Lots of you saying yes, come on, we can do this, we can do this. I want to bring out preparedness, which I mentioned in there, the fact that we need to be prepared. My world predictions video talked about a plan B, and a plan B doesn't have to be like, oh my God, I've got another job lined up, I've got another home that I could go to in a different part of the country if something happens here where I live. That's not realistic. That's not something that most of us can do. Preparedness also is to do with our mental elasticity, I'm hearing Spirit say. The fact that we need to, it's interesting actually, let me get a card to illustrate this point from the Christ Consciousness deck. It's actually a card that isn't maybe very immediate to some people. It was an illustration that Jane came up with for this one. It's totally down to Jane's idea. And I must admit, at first I didn't quite get how it was going to work either, but I totally think it's brilliant. Well done, Jane. It's this one. It's card number 25. It says new vintage. It says be open-minded. Okay, be open-minded. It's the passage in the New Testament which talks about the fact that you can't put new wine into old skins. And by that, it's talking about wine skins, the days where wine was put into wine skins, like we've got here in the picture, okay? You can't put new wine into old skins. And it's to do with new ideas, new thoughts, new approaches. Can't be put into something which is rigid or brittle or on the way out, basically. If you think about yourself, not necessarily on the way out, hopefully, but just in terms of mindset, do you have a narrow-minded, brittle mindset that this is the way things are, this is the way they've always been, I'm waving the banner for New Earth, oh, I want New Earth to come, but don't you dare criticise my leader because they're brilliant. Well, actually, maybe they're not. Maybe they're not. None of them are, to be perfectly honest, around our world. I honestly, and I say that not because I'm some cynical old whatever, because I am holding out for the New Earth template. I'm here to try and birth that with everybody else that is trying to birth this. And we don't do that by just putting old wine into old wineskins the whole time. We have to be open to new approaches, new ideas, new people, new parties maybe, new parties. So this rigidity in terms of I've always voted this way, I've always voted for this party, it doesn't care who that is, I just have to keep voting that way. Can we start to see how that's just enforcing that system? Somehow we have to break out of it. And it's to do with being open-minded. That actually, I've never voted for this party before, but actually I really like what that person's saying. I mean, ultimately what we're getting towards, I mean, it's a way off a little bit still, but let's try and bring it a bit closer, is again what John Lennon said in a channeling I did, I don't know, 1-2 years ago, where he showed me a future where we will have cross-party government. There will be members from left, from right, from whatever other parties, you know, they call themselves, that are leading, and it will be a circular government. It'll be a circular government representing the people. And ultimately, of course, the leader of that circular government, because there's always somebody that has to ultimately be the leader, be the spokesperson. I mean, I suppose they could take it in turns, but what I'm seeing is the person that the circle would elect to be the spokesperson would be the one that could best integrate all of the different ideologies, even if they don't agree with everything. It's like, you know, they would at least listen. So yeah, this card, New Vintage, be open-minded. Let's just think about that in terms of our mind. And let's be aware of our triggers when they come. And we all get triggered. I get triggered as well. All of us do. But just think next time, am I investing in old earth energy and I just want to carry it on like we always have? Or am I going to put my energy elsewhere? So I think I've made that point. Let's move on. Oh, I wanted to talk about preparedness, didn't I? Yeah. So mental flexibility. Rigidity is not going to help you at all. We have to stretch our mind. Now, how can we do this, Metatron? He's showing me mind maps, actually. Let's get Virgo about this. Okay, let's get Virgo about this. Virgo is grounded. Virgo is practical. Virgo is thorough. Virgos would love mind maps, I'm sure. Do you know what a mind map is? You know, you get a piece of paper, you write whatever word is on the, whatever the theme of the day is, and then you build up the mind map from that. Different words linking. It's like, you know, one word and then that leads to something else. And then that leads to something else, and that leads to something else, and it's getting it down on paper. Mind mapping is a great way also of stimulating our creativity. I'm being shown very practical ways here. I'm being shown collage as well, making collage. Do you remember the days maybe when you were younger when you used to make collage at school or college? Maybe some of you still do. Getting different pieces of fabric, different colours, different words, different textures. Okay. Putting it together. It's a way to expand the mind. Thank you so much, everybody. Those of you that watched my last video when I was picking up this pretty random thing that came in about sound weapons and sound healing. I went away after that video, and unfortunately I was correct. There is sound weapons out there which are exactly as I was seeing in my mind's eye, that can absolutely destroy the internal organs of the body, cause the bleeding in the ears that I was seeing. Horrible things, horrible. Don't want to put energy into that. But I said there was a Russian composer that was wanting to come forward to help us to neutralize these sound frequencies that are in our world. And so many of you coming up with so many names of Russian composers, some of whom I'd never heard of, some of whom I had. One of you also talking about, I can't remember whether it was Tchaikovsky or somebody else, but there's one called The War. Oh, help me out, guys. The War something or other. It actually has the sound of cannons in the piece of classical music. But anyway, the point, why I'm bringing this up again, is that music can expand our minds. Go back to something like Oliver Anthony. If he's triggering you, forget what the media are saying. I'm sorry, but the mass media, again, the more that we are feeding into that, oh, they're saying this, they're saying that this person's a good guy, this person's a bad guy. Oh, I didn't realise that. Thank you for telling me. Stop it. Most of you have. I mean, I still read it from time to time, but half of it is just I'm laughing at it, or I'm certainly seeing it from a higher perspective. It's like, you need to know what's being said. Make your own mind up. You see, this is the thing. When I listened to that piece of music from Oliver Anthony, as I said, I wasn't thinking he was a right-wing nut. I wasn't thinking he was a left-wing. I wasn't thinking anything. I was just thinking, wow, this is a voice of the people. This guy has something he wants to say, and he's saying it passionately, and I honour and respect that. You know, maybe there's something for me to learn from this. That is the approach of somebody who has a flexible mind. Yeah. But the other thing as well was to do with being prepared for, days to come. We'll all be fine, but, we need to be prepared. It's not just about getting a few extra bags of rice in. It's to do with being physically as prepared as we can be as well. And this is a big one. It's a hard one. I totally understand. I really get this one. Because we can use food, we can use alcohol to numb ourselves, because for all sorts of reasons, because of our wounding, because of whatever, because it's pleasurable. But I really put out a call to myself as much as you to try as hard as you can to bring in some positive habits to make your body as healthy as it can be. So that's to do with changing diet, having some water more regularly, getting your rest, trying to limit exposure to toxins, all of that. We live in a world where there's lots of that stuff all the time, but just do what you can. Because again, the weaker that our physical body is, the more weight we're carrying, for example, if there's something we can do about it. Put it this way, if you were in Maui and you had to run, I mean, unfortunately, the fire was so fast they couldn't run, but maybe it's a bad example, but I'm still going to say it. You at least have a chance, okay? If you're so overweight that you can't even walk across the room, and there is something you can maybe do about it, just try to lose a few pounds. And I say that with compassion. I say that with love, because people build up weight for all sorts of reasons. I'm talking about weight that is under your control, that's caused by overeating and lack of exercise, for protection, because they're hurting, they're grieved, all sorts of things. I get it. But these are days where, as spiritual warriors, you give yourself the best chance you can, is really what I'm trying to say, okay? And I say that as somebody, I need to lose weight myself, so I know it's difficult, but we've just got to try our best, okay? Oh, good. Just noticed, I thought suddenly it's all right. Just a technical thing you don't need to know about. Somebody said they like the way that, I mean, some people don't like the microphone in the shop, but sorry, I'm just you see, this is right, thank you, Matt. This is another good example. Some people don't like the being able to see the microphone. The thing is, I'm experimenting. This is the whole point. When somebody experiments, don't try and shoot them down and say, you can't do that, you shouldn't do that, I don't like split screen, I like it when you like this, I like this. It's, again, that's this type of energy, isn't it? When we're too rigid. I'm not talking about myself here, let people experiment, let people grow, because if you do that, it's also a reflection that you want to grow, you want to experiment. I think Metatron thinks it's quite funny actually, because it almost feels like the microphone is coming from him. But anyway, right. Anything else to say? I don't want to make this video too long. I want to get it up. In terms of help, Ascended Master and Archangel help for Virgo season. I've got the 2 J's, which is unusual because usually we're talking about the M's on this channel, the Mary, Merlin, Metatron, etc., Michael. No, we've got the 2 J's for Virgo season. We have Joseph, the father of Jesus. I suppose also the 3rd J, sorry, should be Jesus. So we've got 3 J's. We've got Joseph, the father of Jesus. We've got Jesus, and we've got Jophiel. Jophiel, Archangel Jophiel. Let me just explain why I'm bringing Jophiel into Virgo season. Our spray for Jophiel, you might not be able to see it on camera, but it's called Beauty and Wisdom. So because I'm Venus in Virgo, I must admit I do associate Virgo a lot with beauty and elegance and grace and gentleness and all of that. But I think it's quite a Virgo trait as well. It's to do with trying to see the beauty in life, trying to, and that, I know that can be difficult when we look around the world and we can just see the pain and the despair and the difficulties. But remember, the sun is still shining out there. The birds are still singing, the trees are still in bloom, all the rest of it. We're about to enter a new season. We have autumn coming up soon in my part of the world, and I guess the rest of you are about to come into springtime. How amazing is that? How amazing is that? The beauty of that. What Jophiel does is he helps open our eyes so that we can see it. Also opening our eyes to, I'll just spray the spray, but he's sort of talking to me already. Okay, what he's saying to me, let's go back to this thing about old earth and new earth. So old earth leaders, new earth leaders. Number one, as the old earth leaders exit the stage in whatever time frame is going to play out, which is actually dependent on us. And, you know, if we want them gone, they're gone. It's as simple as that. And by that, I'm talking about peaceful vibration. The more that we raise our vibration and the vibration of the earth, the more a lot of these very dated old templates, they can't survive in new earth energy. It's as simple as that. So the timeline is actually up to us. But as they exit, we need to try to send them on their way with love and gratitude for what they have taught us as a species in this last cycle of our existence. And you might have to do it through gritted teeth, but it's that thing about fake it till you make it. In all seriousness, they are there because we live in duality consciousness. And how do you know what you want if you don't have the opposite? You know, it's like, how do we know that we want new earth and that we want the ideals that we're striving for, such as freedom and sovereignty and unity and love, if we aren't shown the opposite energy amongst our communities, our towns, but absolutely our leaders as well? The micro and the macro are always linked. So Jophiel is asking us to see the beauty in all, the energy of Namaste, the divine in me sees the divine in you. But that can also be the divine in me sees the divine in you. Thank you for your service, now on your way. But also appreciating the beautiful little green shoots that we can see, even if we just see them within ourselves or we see them within a few others. But the more that we notice it, I see something in you. I don't necessarily agree with everything that you stand for, everything that you say, but actually I can see that you're coming from the right place. I can see the beauty that's actually there within you. I can see that you're actually saying something that's quite valid there, that I really resonate with. I might not resonate with all the rest, but I like that bit. Focus on that bit, okay? Because positivity breeds more positivity. It brings in positive change. We're all learning from each other all of the time. So the Jophiel energy, very important right now. Joseph, I don't know, Joseph just feels very Virgo to me. I mean, I know Virgo season is usually linked into the energy of Mary, Mother Mary, Virgin Mary, Virgo, all of that. But I'm feeling Joseph. I'm feeling the energy of Joseph. And it's this energy of practical, grounded, humble service. Practical, grounded, humble service. Building from the roots up. Organic. Always see the energy of wood with Joseph, carpentry, trees, nature, cycles. It's just a beautiful energy, the Joseph energy. Really feel as though it will help us during this time. In the Christ deck, those of you that have got the Christ deck, the depiction of Joseph, I'll just see if I can find it quickly, is he's teaching the young Jesus how to climb a tree. And it's to do with fathering and responsibility. Fathering and responsibility. By the way, those of you that are waiting for stock of the Christ cards, I know there's been a delay. It's because the first print run sold out. So I'm being told that it's only a couple of weeks wait now. So when I've got a definite date, I'll let you know, but it's looking good. It's looking good for the next lot to come through. So if you've got them on back order, they should be arriving hopefully soon. Okay, let's just see. Anything else to say? Let's pull one more card from the Christ Consciousness deck, and then I'm going to pull a couple of tarot cards as well. So Virgo season, anything over and above what I haven't already said? Peace. We have the energy of peace. Standing stones. Calm centre, calm mind. Calm centre, calm mind. That's a philosophy to adopt at all times, of course. The words that I've written to go with this card from memory are linked into the fact that these stones that are standing, they remind me of, like, because I come from Yorkshire as well, the Yorkshire walls. What are they called? Stone walls in Yorkshire, which don't have any cement in them or anything. They're just held together by an art that has put them together. Stone walling, that's right. That they know how to basically put them together, and they survive the elements. They get buffeted by the wind and the rain, but nothing moves them. They just have this steadiness, this calmness, this calm centre. So that's what we need to be as the change happens around us. But we also need to remember that we are the change, that we are the change. Please let us stop investing in old earth templates. I can't stress that enough. Okay, let's pull a few cards from the Nordic Tarot for Virgo season. So for the next month going forward. And we're going to have 3 cards from this deck. 3 cards for the season coming up. We have the card of choices, the 7 of Cups. You see, that's what I was just saying, really, wasn't it? That we have a choice. We have a choice in terms of what we are investing in. Are we investing in new earth, or are we investing in old earth? I think half of the time people don't even realise that they are investing in old earth when they're defending it. Make sure you choose the right cup. You have a choice. You always have a choice. You always have a choice. And into that we could put, potential lockdowns coming back and requirements for us to do various things. You always have a choice. And this time more people, I think, will realise that they do have a choice. And I'm not attacking you if you choose differently from me. But there needs to be a choice. Okay, what else? 2 more cards, please. Virgo season. Okay, this one's just fallen out. The King of Wands is action. Are you going to take action on the choices that you're making? That's what I was saying earlier. The bottom of the deck, we have unity upside down, the 2 of Wands. And then we have the 3 of Pentacles, recognition. Unity is not going to happen. What this is saying is unity, and the vision for unity is not going to happen. I feel like I've got John Lennon here as well. Unity is not going to happen unless you and I make the right choices and take action to bring it in. And the only way it can be brought in is via the Three of Pentacles, which is working together. Working together. And although this card says recognition, I also want to bring in the energy of non-recognition, the energy of Joseph, doing it just for the common good, doing it even though others might not understand your stance, doing it even though you'll be mocked and you'll be misunderstood, and oh, you're just saying this because of that. Because ultimately what I'm talking about here, and the people that are resonating with this message, this is a frequency broadcast. It's a frequency broadcast. This is frequency change. It's why they took John down, because he understood more than anybody the power of people power coming together. People power coming together. Going back to Oliver Anthony, I'm not saying he's the answer. I'm just saying he's somebody who's got something to say at the moment. And don't close your ears to it just because you're being told, oh, he's linked into this person, or Marjorie Taylor Greene likes him. I don't particularly like Marjorie Taylor Greene, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't care whether she likes him or not. I mean, but I need to, I suppose, be open-minded to the fact there might be something she says that I might like. You know, practice what you preach. This is the whole thing. We mustn't close down all avenues. I've lost my train of thought there now. I was trying to say something about Oliver Anthony, wasn't I? Can't remember. It will come back if it was. You see, it's going to be really frustrating for me. I'm going to watch this video back and I'm going to think, I was going to say this. But anyway, people power. Oh yeah, all I was going to say was the fact I'd seen somebody say that song, Rich Men North of Richmond, was the people's anthem. Okay. Oh my God, if it's the people's anthem, let's close that down really quickly. Let's make him into this monster, you know, in the midst. They'll try to bring this guy down. He's one of the most beautiful things about him actually is, I think it was on a social media post, I haven't got it to read to you, but after the extraordinary success of this song in days, he wrote some stuff where he basically said, okay, I'll tell you a little bit about myself then. And he basically said, something along the lines of, I'm not even really a very good person. I'm just somebody who's, I think he struggles with drink and trying to get sober and all of this, and he struggles and blah, 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 and he's interested in, you know, the ordinary man. He doesn't want the fame, or he's got the fame now, whether he likes it or not. But it was just really beautiful. It was just like, it was humble. There's a humbleness to him, actually. There's a humbleness to this guy. But people will twist it into all sorts of other things because he's caught the imagination of the people. We can't have that. We can't have that. Let's bring him down. No, let's raise him up, and let's have other voices as well along the same lines, singing different things with different ideals, with different ideologies. Let's listen to them as well. Okay, because otherwise we just become narrow-minded, and it's like we can only listen to that one narrative. Yes, I think many of us now don't just listen to one narrative. We certainly shouldn't be. Shouldn't just be listening to one source of information for your news. You should be looking at many different types of sources of information for your news, including listening to the people that you really don't like and who trigger you. There's something to learn from them as well. Anyhow, so yes, this I think is the message that I was meant to deliver today. I'm going to leave it there, I think. How many cards have I got out? 4. Let's just pull a 5th card for the 5th dimensional frequency. Let's just see. Any other message, please, Metatron, for this video? Anything that I haven't said, or anything, just confirming anything? One more card, please, for the people watching. That you have the power, is what Metatron's saying, that you have the power. You have the power to bring about the change you seek. You have the power to bring about the change you seek within yourself, and you have the power to bring about the change you seek in our world. And anybody that's ever stood for that has struggled in this old template. Of course they'll struggle in the old template because they don't belong to the old template. They belong to the new. We have the Queen of Pentacles leading the way, the divine feminine energy, but she is grounded. She is grounded. We've also got the Hermit card here, the card of wisdom. Reflection leads to growth. but we also have to have the action. Okay, thank you for listening. Please share the message if it's resonated. Lots of love, and I'll be back soon. I'm going to be back with, quite exciting actually, got some really great videos coming up soon for you. We're going to be channeling, I'm going to be channeling Michael Jackson on the 29th of August, which is his birthday, and also Marilyn Monroe is coming up very soon, and I'm not going to promise anything else. There is a couple of other things that might be happening quite soon, but I'm going to leave you guessing what they might be. Okay, take great care of yourself. I'm off to London. I'm off to London on Friday. I can't wait. Going away for 2 nights just with one of my daughters, and we're going to do a bit of shopping, a bit of eating, and more than anything, getting the vibe of London, because I love London. I love London, and it lifts me up and it grounds me and it gives me a bit of a kick up the backside normally as well. It's usually a bit of healing that happens, but I just love the vibration of it. Also, I think some of the cities in our world at the moment are leading the fight back, and actually it's interesting I'm mentioning London. I think London is one of them. There is something called Ellis. I'm not even sure if that's the correct pronunciation, but it's the cameras are being taken down by people power across the capital city, and you know, there's no violence involved. It's just, we didn't vote that in. We didn't agree to that. Why are you putting up cameras in my cul-de-sac to see whether the car that I'm driving is new enough? Otherwise I have to pay £12 each time I drive past that camera. People are saying no, we're not having it. That's all it takes. It takes enough people standing up and saying no. Namaste. See you soon. Bye.